her womb is polluted. You know, I was leaving my apartment today, and as I'm walking out the door, this girl who lives across the hall from me, she's like this blonde. She's like maybe in her late 20s, right? She comes out and she's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she's like, "Oh no, I just thought I'd say hi." And I could tell, I could tell she had just smoked some weed. I could smell the weed on her. And I know she's a pillhead too. So I know she's popping pills. And she's like all woozy and swerving all over the place. She's like, "Oh, hey, did you hear that, like, some girl committed suicide downstairs?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know about that." She's like, "Yeah, it was crazy." And I'm like, "All right, that's pretty crazy." And we just kind of stopped talking, and I like walked away. I had like some stuff to take care of. And it just got me thinking, I'm like, it's funny, these girls are doing drugs and smoking and drinking and eating flesh, and sugar and fried food, and they think that like some alpha male is going to trust them enough to put a baby in them. Like hell no. Like it just blows my mind how women like take horrible care of their bodies and then expect a guy to want to put a kid in them. The thing is, there is a double standard when it comes to health. Women can't get away with trashing their bodies the way men can. And I think women resent that deep down because not only can they not get away with sleeping around, they also can't get away with trashing their bodies. Like for example, I'll give you guys an example of the double standard, right? My dad smoked cigarettes, drank alcohol, did cocaine and heroin. Um, he did everything. My dad was like the full party animal. He did all of that, right? So he gets my mom pregnant. Now, my mom doesn't do anything. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't drink. She eats very healthy. She's very on top of her health, right? I came out perfectly healthy. No health problems whatsoever. Even though my dad smoked, drank, did cocaine and heroin all at the same time, I still came out healthy because the woman's body is much more important than the man's when it comes to the health of a child. So men can get away with trashing our bodies and still have kids, whereas women, imagine if it was my mom who was doing heroin and cocaine and liquor and cigarettes, I would have came out with like three eyes and like an octopus tentacle. I would have been so deformed, right? So the thing is, there is a double standard. Women can't get away with trashing their bodies the way men can, and women don't think men are paying attention. They wonder why men don't want to marry them, don't want to have kids with them, at least the men they want, because no logical man in his right mind, who's on top of his business, is gonna put a baby in a polluted, toxic waste pool of a womb that the average American woman has. No man in his right mind is gonna put a baby in you when you're smoking, drinking, taking depression pills, eating meat, doing drugs. I mean, that's like a nightmare waiting to happen. I have an aunt who, when she was pregnant, she was taking depression medication while she was pregnant. That's all she was doing, was just taking depression pills while she was pregnant. And her kid came out autistic, and he's like 5 years behind the other kids mentally. Like he's 10 years old, but mentally he acts like a 5-year-old. He doesn't really know how to form sentences. He's kind of retarded, all because she was so selfish. She couldn't put down the depression pills while she was pregnant. So she polluted her womb, and her kid came out with birth defects. Now, if it was the husband taking depression pills and she wasn't, the kid would have came out fine because men, the sperm, it's different. It's just for some reason women's bodies are much more important, because they're the ones holding the kid. And women don't understand that. They don't want to hear that. They want to live this party rock star lifestyle in their 20s and think that men are going to marry them in their 30s and they're going to spit out some healthy kids. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. So if women are wondering why men aren't wanting to have kids with them, it's because no man who's on top of his business wants to put a baby in a toxic waste dump of a womb like yours. It reminds me of the scene from the movie Scarface where they're sitting at the table, Tony and Elvira and Manny, and Tony's looking at his wife, and he's like, then he looks at Manny, he's like, "I can't even have a little baby with her, man. Her womb is so polluted. I can't even have a little baby with her, man." Because she does cocaine. His wife does coke and she drinks. And then she freaks out. She's like, "How dare you? How dare you insult me like that?" But you know what? I think about it and I'm like, dude, it's absolutely true. Why would he have a baby with a coke whore like his wife? That kid would probably come out retarded or something, you know? And It's just crazy to me how so many women pollute their wombs, pollute their bodies, in their teens and 20s, not thinking about the future. And then they have the audacity to want to bring a baby into this world when your body is so toxic that this kid is going to have serious problems, most likely, when it comes out of you. Like, how selfish of you to bring a kid into this world that's going to suffer for its entire life because you were too selfish and lazy to put down your bad habits while you were pregnant. And now this kid has to suffer its entire life with certain birth defects. Like, is that not the ultimate evil? Honestly. All because you want to compete with men, you want to be a rock star like men, you want to sleep around like men, you want to do drugs and drink like men. Women have no business drinking alcohol. Women have no business doing drugs. Your body cannot handle it, okay? Your body is weaker than ours when it comes to immune system, when it comes to defense. I know men who drink a bottle of Jack Daniels every day for 50 years, and they still go out and do construction jobs and lift weights, and they're ripped, and they can make it work. There's no woman in the world that can drink a bottle of Jack Daniels every day for 50 years. She'll die. She'll get breast cancer at like 25. Women cannot handle the abuse that a man's body can handle. So stop trying to compete with us. Stop polluting your wombs. I've done videos on how women try to compete with men to sleep around. But this is another thing I feel like people don't talk about too much, is that women want to trash their bodies the way men can and think they're going to get away with it. No, you have a different responsibility. You're the birthing chamber for children. You don't get the right to trash your body. All right? A man just has to shoot that sperm in you, and then he can be as unhealthy as he wants. You have to hold that baby for 9 months. Okay? You have no business trashing your body. You're out of your mind. And no man, no logical man is going to want to put a baby in you when your body is such a toxic waste dump like that. It just reminds me of the movie Scarface so much. They're sitting at the table and he's like, I can't even have a baby with her, man. Her womb is so toxic and polluted, man. It's the truth, though. Like, I always thought, like, when I was a kid, I'm like, wow, that was such a mean thing for him to say. But then I grew up and I'm like, yeah, why would I put a baby in a toxic waste dump, which is like the average American woman. The average American woman eats meat, drinks, smokes, takes depression medication, like my God, like that's just a recipe for disaster. These women don't think long term, am I healthy enough to have babies? They just want to live in the moment and copy men because they think that like we're living the dream or something, being a man, doing all this stuff, and they want to copy it. And you're just not built the way we are. You can't handle it, You sit when you pee. You have to sit down when you pee. We stand up when we pee, okay? We're two different creatures completely, all right? We can get away with a lot more than you. And I know that burns you inside because you want to be a free wild stallion like us. But guess what, baby? You can't, all right? You can't be free like us. You have responsibilities. So get it together. Get your health under control. And to all the men listening, don't you dare put a baby in a woman that's a toxic waste dump, Do you really want to have a retarded kid? You really want to have a kid with autism and dyslexia and God knows what other heart conditions and all the stuff that, do you really want that? All because you chose a toxic woman to put your kid into? Hold your standards higher if you guys even want to have kids. Hold your standards higher for the women you choose for that. And it's just crazy, man. Her womb is polluted.